one of the reasons people get so uncomfortable watching those shows is because on some fundamental level, they know that if something like that popped up in the real world, a lot of people would sign up for it. Like, you can watch something like that and think, I probably know at least one person who would seriously consider doing that, even if they had a 1 in 10 chance of making it out. Squid Game is a show. Yeah, I'm only halfway through it. 4 episodes in out of what I think is 8. Now I don't know if there are actually any squids in it. There's a squid mentioned at the very beginning. I haven't seen the payoff for the squid arc, So yeah, I'm really waiting to see. It's 9. Okay, gotcha. Really waiting to see how that pays off. I want to talk about it really quickly because a lot of people are engaging in some fairly amateur political analysis of the show. And I'm not going to spoil anything outside of the very basic premise of the show, okay? So I'm not going to spoil anything you wouldn't be able to see in like the description of the show that you see on Netflix, like when you like right over it, like right there. So yeah, I heard it's basically the coconut analogy. All of life is the coconut analogy. I've only watched the first 4 episodes, but I think that's more than enough for me to talk about the basic thing that I want to talk about, which is also how I'm going to not spoil you guys outside the very basic premise, okay? So the very basic premise is this, all right? Get ready, okay? This is the closest we're getting to spoilers, okay? The very basic premise is this, okay? Squid Game is about a bunch of desperate people in debt being rounded up to play an illicit game show style competition in which they're pitted against deadly challenges and the winner makes a lot of money. That's it. Right there. Now that is not exactly a new premise. Has anyone here seen or read? I don't know if it's Akagi or Akagi. Oh no, Kaiji. No, wait, they're from the same guy. Akagi and Kaiji are from the same guy, right? They're both the same. They're both from the same mangaka, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that Squid Game is inspired by Kaiji, and I'm gonna talk about Kaiji, by the way, because Kaiji is great. Yeah, Kaiji is an anime and a manga. It's called Kaiji Ultimate Survivor, and it's a really, really, really good anime, and it's really similar to Squid Game in the sense that it's about desperate people being, sort of rounded up so that their desperation can be used as leverage against them in a deadly competition that's meant to be, it's earn your way out of poverty. Apparently, there has been a KG film. I'm looking at this now from the Google image search results, and I gotta say, I don't know if it's really capturing the artistic style of the original. This is the art style of the original, by the way. This is what they look like. They all have like these. It's genuinely incredible. This is the protagonist. I love this guy. Okay, look at him. Look at him. He's so sharp, literally and metaphorically, because he's a bright guy. Well, he doesn't start out to watch the anime. Anyway, I want to talk about this super quick because there's something about this particular like type of show, this premise that I'm really, really fond of when it comes to critiquing capitalism. So, some really sharp-eyed viewers watching Squid Game might have noticed that the show seems a little bit critical of capitalism. Some of the wiser observers, some of the very observant types. And it's interesting actually that we've gotten this 2 years in a row, right? From like from Korean from Korean directors, because just last year we had Parasite, and Parasite swept the Oscars, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, so anti-capitalist." And like with like with Squid Game, there are apparently conservatives with really, really bad media analysis skills saying that Parasite's, the people who were saying that Parasite's actually like a critique of like welfare or something because it like when poor people get entitled they act bad or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like I'm telling you, okay, really bad media analysis is basically necessary to be a conservative and to be able to enjoy any kind of political media, okay? But we're not going to be doing that today. There's a premise here with these game show style satires of capitalism that I really, 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 really like. Remember, Black Panther is alt-right? Oh God, the Black Panther is alt-right because at the beginning, Wakanda is like a closed-off nationalist exclusionary state, and then at the end they were like, actually that's bad, and that was the turning point. You know what I mean? If yeah, Sean has a video on that. It's incredible stuff. It's really, really incredible stuff. Sargon's mind is an enigma, you know, truly a. So you know, have you ever seen one of those one tile Rubik's cubes? You know, like they come solved and there's no way to not solve them. That's what he's got. Anyway, these types of shows, okay? There's something that very how do I put this? Okay, I think this is the key distinction between a show which critiques capitalism and a show which enables it or facilitates it or empowers it in some way, okay? And to me, the big difference is, okay, when you're put in these situations where a very poor person faces unbelievable adversity as a product of their poverty, you know, in an unfair system, at the end, do they overcome that system and escape it or break it? Or alternatively, do they master it and control it? I think that there's a fundamental difference in the way that liberals and socialists tend to think about these systems, you know? Because liberals or capitalists, you know, traditionally, they think of wealthy people as success stories. People who are in deep poverty, like people who grow up in like the ghetto or whatever, you know, when they make it and they become very wealthy, this is like a, you know, an inspirational story. Like, you know, they made it out, you know? And they don't interpret this as a problem with the system. If anything, the fact that they overcame it is a celebration of the system. You understand? Whereas shows and pieces of media where the the act of making it through or overcoming this systemic inequality is not framed as a, you know, a personal triumph, you know, against the odds, but rather as like a brush with death, or rather an opportunity to dismantle that system. I think those are like the big difference, you know? That's one of the reasons why, for as good as it is, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a fundamentally liberal show. Because at the end of it, who runs the Fire Nation, right? The solution, the victory at the end of Avatar: The Last Airbender wasn't dismantling the position of the Fire Lord. It was replacing the Fire Lord. The system, the autocrat, you know, you get a good monarch at the end of all things. And you know what? Fine, Zuko is a better monarch than Ozai. I'm not gonna deny that, but it's a way of circumnavigating systemic critique in favor of the idea that if the right people are on top, that things would be better, you know? Now, with regards to Squid Game, again, I haven't seen past the first four episodes, but I have a feeling that at the end, it's not going to, you know, it's not going to be a happy ending where they overcame it and everything is good and happy. Just a tonal feeling that I'm getting, just kind of getting a, you know, a little bit of a doomer vibe from these things. And it's the desperation of the poor that really plays into the, you know, the intrigue and the fascination in these shows. Because so often in the real world, we don't think of the empirical risks associated with a lot of the stuff people will do to escape poverty, okay? Or let me put it another way. This is a comparison made often, all right? The idea of poor people enlisting into some kind of deadly, you know, into some kind of deadly competition to escape poverty is kind of ludicrous, I think, to a lot of Americans because, you know, it's very outlandish. And to be fair, it's true that doesn't happen very much. But people will join the military, won't they? Yeah, people will join the military. 100% they will. Yeah, that's been a big excuse for people to join the military for a long goddamn time. The military, that's a dangerous job. It's not as dangerous as, you know, as some of the stuff going on in say Kaiji or whatever, but it's dangerous work. But it's not just that, is it? You know? What about gangs? You think people who join gangs in the inner city are doing it for fun? They know how dangerous that shit is. They're not stupid. They probably know it better than you and me. I've never been in a gang. They probably know the risk way better. People who grow up in bad neighborhoods and join gangs when they're old enough probably know people who have died in or because of the gang that they're joining. You know? They know way the hell better than I do how risky that is. And why do they do it? Well, usually it's because it's the only economic opportunity in the neighborhood. Usually it's because they need money or their family needs money. Somebody needs some kind of medical care. There's a lot that, yes, the Yang Gang. We're all part of the Yang Gang, exactly. Apart from that gang. Okay, that's the safest gang to be in. but not by much. But the thing is, when we're talking about, oh yeah, mercenaries as well. That's a good point. Mercenaries. Historically, you know what the job of a mercenary was? Ye back in the day? Nowadays, mercenaries get hired from like, companies. Like, you have Blackwater and stuff, and the governments will purchase their services. And usually nowadays, mercenaries are like veterans or ex-special forces who want to continue killing people or getting paid lots of money to at least have the potential to kill people after they're done with the military. But back in the day, before things got systematized in the way they are right now, mercenary bands lived through unimaginably difficult day-to-day circumstances. Can you like put yourself in their shoes for a second? Like really think about it, okay? Now, I don't think mercenaries back in like 1432 or something were like very ideologically committed to whatever lord or aristocrat they were fighting for against whichever. And in fact, I think they switched sides pretty often. I mean, whoever paid them, right? That's the job of a mercenary. But these people's lives were unfathomably dangerous. I mean, it's not just the fight, it's being away from your home. It's unstable access to food and water. It's disease. It's not being around medical care, whatever medical care they had back then. They had some in case of injury, all that stuff. And why'd they do it? They did it to support themselves or to support their families. That's insane to me. That is unbelievable to me. That people in positions of desperation will put themselves through what I can imagine it must have been one of the most dangerous vocations you could have possibly engaged in at the time. We see versions of this today in developing countries as well, don't we? It's not just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm talking right now about the West, Riverboat Jack. But I mean, if you're talking about developing countries, do you have any fucking idea what risks these people will go to just to keep food on the table for their family? Or shit, just to keep debtors away from them? It is insane. So when we really broaden our perspective and think about how fucked the world is, what people are willing to do just to keep their financial situation stable, which is a lot, premises like Squid Game, I honestly think make a lot more sense. And I honestly think one of the reasons people get so uncomfortable watching those shows is because on some fundamental level, they know that if something like that popped up in the real world, a lot of people would sign up for it, even if all the terms were known beforehand. I think there's this deep discomfort that, like, you can watch something like that and think, holy shit, yeah, I probably know at least one person who would seriously consider doing that, even if they had a 1 in 10 chance of making it out, or a 1 in 50, they would still, because to a lot of people, a lot of poor people, the debt trap that they're in feels so inescapable that life is nothing more than a process of scrambling out of like you know, a smooth-walled cave. I mean, like a pit that's 1,000 feet deep that you could never ever climb. And they would rather take the unfathomably small chance of winning than they would the near certainty of staying within there forever. And that's deeply depressing, right? I mean, we'd like to think that we live in a system which is, if not equitable, at the very least civilized. We do tend to think that, right? I think most people understand life's not fair, but there's a big difference between life being unfair and life and the systems within it being set in such a way that there's a very reasonable possibility that people would be actually acting out fucking battle royale death gambling games in an effort to make it out of those, People get uncomfortable when they watch stuff like that. Stuff like that doesn't exist in the way that it's shown to the extent that we see visibly. I'm sure somewhere in the world there are wealthy people rounding up like homeless poor people for bum gladiatorial arenas. I'm certain somewhere in the world this is happening. Okay, it seems incredibly unlikely to me. This is happening nowhere. Yeah, Mr. Beast will be taking a shot at it. We know there's human trafficking and black market money. Yeah, there's so much stuff going on behind the scenes. However, in what we see in the Squid Game, we don't see a directly evident example of that in real life that we could point to and draw data from. But all Squid Game really is a combination of two existing systems that we know for a fact are not only very real but very common. One of which is the poor's predisposition to rely on luck to escape their circumstances. And two is the poor being willing to take massive risks to escape debt and poverty. Those are both extremely demonstrable, very easy to understand things that we have data on, that we've known about for centuries. People have done this, millennia, even. And I don't know. You know, it's one of the reasons why I don't like a lot of reality television. I really don't like cash prizes in games like you know what's a show I like? Cutthroat Kitchen. I think it's a little bit cute. Cutthroat Kitchen. It's like a cooking competition show it's really dumb. Basically, it's like you get everyone gets 25,000 at the beginning of the rounds and they can use it to bid on sabotages for their opponents. So like you can you start with 25,000, you can pay 10,000 to like make the other person wear big like Danish clogs and stomp around or whatever so it hurts their ability to cook, you know. And you make it out with the money you have, right? I don't know, it's fun, it's stupid. It's very stupid, you know. I like it. But clogs are Dutch. Okay, gotcha. Sorry. But there is something about it that really bothers me, and it's that I really can't stand those little pre-show intros where all the four chefs line up, and it's usually like the same thing, right? One of them, they all get asked why you want the money, why are you here? And one of them is like, I just want clout, baby. The other one's like, I'm here to promote my restaurant. And then the last two are like, we really need the money, man. We really need the fucking money. And then you get a coin flip on who gets it, right? Sometimes they all need the money real bad. You know, I like competition. I love competition. I love the, you know, the drama of people pitting their best against others. But I don't like the ability to get out of debt being the trophy they get for winning, you know? Yeah, competition is great, but not without a safety net. Desperation to me is not for good competition. When I see people competing, I want them to be competing for, you know, the glory or the thrill or the honor or the sheer, you know, the sheer feeling of overcoming other people. I think that's great. I think those are wonderful, wonderful human emotions. But those shows do prey on the poor, don't they? A lot. I mean, all these game shows where money is the prize, and that's what baits a lot of people. You know, a lot of people want money. I can never escape this feeling that every time a person fucks up and they fall on American Ninja Warrior or they fuck some cooking thing up in a show like that, I can't help but feel that like the first thing that makes them sad when they realize they've made that mistake isn't I could have done better. It's I'm going to have to wait another year before my kid gets like braces. I could deal with the first one. The second one does not elicit in me positive television viewing experiences. We know that if Squid Game was a real goddamn thing and somehow this was legal and licensed, that there would be people signing up for it and we would watch it. And I honest to God do not know if making things that direct and that evident would elicit any more real systemic critique of the system that we live within than the systems that are already present. I genuinely wonder that if we weren't like born with that already being normalized, people would just be like, "Yeah, dude, whatever. Like that's their choice. They signed the contract. If they want to risk their life for that, that's fine, dude." I honestly wonder if it would just be that normalized, you know. And people like, you know, lefties would be like, "That's horrible. Their debt's driving them to desperation." And then they'd be like, "Dude, whatever. We do that with a lot of stuff. You don't want you if debt if wasn't a motivator for things, then like why would people ever work or like join the military?" And then we'd be like, "We know." That's the argument. That's the point. You're correct. Why indeed? Well, people would work and join the military without debt, but they would do it for other reasons. Anyway, we ramble on forever. Do you think that shows like this have an obligation to offer an alternative? No, I don't necessarily think so. I think that political advocates should always offer alternatives to the things they criticize, but a piece of media not necessarily, you know. A piece of media isn't trying to deliver like a coherent political agenda. It's just supposed to, you know, it has its message, I think. I mean, I think it's good to at least suggest an alternative, but I don't think that that has to be like everything, you know. Like I don't think every like piece of media that critiques something bad has to like sort of lead towards something good.